Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Joseph Bradley, and I'm going to answer another question. This one is a sad one. It's a difficult one. It's about suicide and how it affects people and affects the person that had committed it. I'm going to read the question. I said, I am a high school teacher, and a student I cared about killed himself this fall. I think of him often, and this makes me wonder if he wants something of me. Can I help him find his lost pieces? I'm not experienced, but I am willing to try. Also, I am sort of mad at him and ashamed that he did not understand the extent of the suffering. Will this hinder me? That's a hard one, isn't it? There's a lot of things about suicide out there. There's a lot of people out there that think they have the answers, that you commit suicide, it doesn't cause a permanent effect on the person, that they can go to heaven and everything will be healed. I know I talked about this subject before. So what happens to a soul when they commit suicide? Well, I guess that greatly depends on how the suicide occurred. What were they thinking when or just before they committed suicide? But how about the people that are left behind? The people like that school teacher that blame themselves in a way that they didn't see this coming. About the mother that watches her son their whole life, and then that son commits suicide, and they're left wondering, what did they do wrong? How could they not have seen it? How can they not have seen the signs? Or it could be, why didn't I do anything about it? I knew there was something wrong, but I didn't do anything. First of all, it is not your fault. It is nobody's fault. There is no blame here. It is the soul that chose to do this to itself. It was a choice, not anything that you could have stopped. You might have been able to help the person, and maybe you did much help, but it's still the person's choice. The person chose to do this. I don't believe in soul contracts like that. There's a lot of things out there that say, oh, it's a contract that I come here and that's what I have to do. I'm sorry, I don't believe that. I believe it is a choice. A choice. We could have chose to do it or not to do it. And obviously there's always a part of us that goes back to heaven. But there's also parts of us that get shattered from the experience. And we shatter other souls at the same time because of that experience. So the soul can come and stay and is probably asking for help, parts of him. The parts that went to heaven join with the source, join with the higher self. The problem is, whatever we had in our mind at the time is what we're going to create. A part of ourselves will be trapped in that specific belief system. So if you believe that you commit suicide, that you're going to go to hell, a part of you will create a hell that you will stay in until you realize that it's an illusion and it's not the truth. The world itself is a harbor of lost souls. Lost fragments is a better term. Because our complete soul doesn't stay behind, only parts of it do. And when an experience like this happens, the first thing you cannot do is blame yourself. The soul itself shouldn't blame itself, but it does. So it creates a part of their body, a part of their soul to be trapped within the earth. So how do we help those people? We pray for them. We say that we understand that it's sorry it became this way. But please forgive yourself. Show them, visualize them walking into a doorway, into the light, so they remember who they are. But forgive them, because they weren't in the right mind when it happened. They were unbelievably sad. A part of their body was broken, their mind was broken. In order to do that, we have to forgive them. We have to say, I understand. I forgive you for what you have done. I forgive myself for maybe not doing enough, even though it is not your fault. We cast blame upon ourselves all the time, but we can't do that because it wasn't our choice. Yeah, we might have been able to do more, but what are you going to do about it now? You're going to blame yourself and live in that agony for a long time. You can't. You have to let it go. You have to move on. You have to say to the person, I forgive you for what you have done. Open your heart to the angels around you so you can see them. Because those fragments that get broken off cannot see the light unless they choose to. It's a choice. It is difficult. It is also sad. But it is part of life. Death is a part of life. How we die is not really known, is it? But when we kill ourselves, that is a choice. And I disagree that it is the right choice ever. I believe that it is a wrong choice for people to do such a thing, because it shatters themselves and other souls around them. It's like when somebody murders someone. It does the same thing. I'm not saying a person is condemned to hell because they commit suicide. What I'm saying, a part of themselves will condemn themselves. A part of their soul will condemn their own self. But it's not wrong. It is sad. But you have to forgive them, and they have to forgive themselves. So in order to help a soul move on, you have to say that to them. That I forgive you, and you need to forgive yourself. They need to have the ability to see the light. So show them the light, show them the door. Take a hold of them and say that you love them. Visualize it in your head. Visualize giving them a hug and having the doorway open up to heaven so they can move on and move into the light. Because if they're around you, it usually means that there's a part of them that is still attached to you. So you're able to help them by forgiving them and getting them to forgive themselves and saying that heaven is waiting for them. All I have to do is walk through the door, to ask for help, to give them the help, to get them to see the light. And when we're on this earth, We have the capability of doing that. We do, because we live in the light and the dark. When you have an angel, a lot of the times they cannot see the angel. But the angel will also not necessarily help them as well until they ask for the help. They might be able to see the light, and they'll be trapped within that themselves, because that is a learning lesson they must overcome. But we have the capability of helping them to overcome it. To sticking her head in the sand and stating the suicide, the person that commits suicide, nothing bad happens to them, that they go into heaven, is a beautiful thing to think, isn't it? But I'm telling you, it is the soul themselves that condemn themselves, a part of themselves. Not their whole, but a part of themselves gets trapped within the earth. If we look at the earth, for thousands of years, we filled it with darkness, and things don't change. Things kind of stay the same. In a way, there's still horrible things happening to the world. How do we break the cycle of that? There has to be a way. So if every person goes back and tries to heal all their lifetimes and bring all those lifetimes that they lived back into balance, then finally we'll be able to move forward as a group, as a world. We're finally able to raise the vibration of the world to make it into an Eden again. But you must forgive yourself and forgive the person and get them to forgive themselves. There might be a rare person that commits suicide and their soul doesn't fragment. But that would be a strong individual indeed. And most of us on this earth are not that strong. It's nothing to do with fear-based anything. There's a lot of people say, oh, it's because you believe in that you're going to get condemned to hell. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. And the people that are saying that aren't listening to what I'm saying. I'm stating that they will go to heaven, but a part of themselves that they themselves condemn to hell, or a version of it will be that way. Will be stuck here until they're able to forgive themselves. But we have the capability of going to them to help them. So how do you help that person? You go to them in your mind and say that you forgive them. Give them a hug. Visualize the door opening up and the angels come and they walk through the door. Or lost, like if, for instance, it could be his mother that passed away, a father or grandmother that could walk through the door and say, come, I'll take you home. And if we do that to every memory that we have of them, every time we feel that they're around, we say that to them, they will be at peace, and all the parts will be able to move on. I'm going to do a quick journey on this specific person that he was talking about to see what I see. I see a long corridor of darkness. There is a boy at the end, and he is crying. He is crying over and over again. He puts his hands up. He reaches out for me to help him. But I go to touch him, and he does not see me. Instead, he sees nothing except darkness. So I change the energy that I am giving off so that he can see me. I look into his eyes and say, there is more to this than darkness. I create a walkway that leads up to a doorway. The doorway opens up, and I say, that is your way home. Do you wish to take it, or do you want to stay here in the darkness and cry? He looks at me, and he says, I'm afraid. I take an orb out of my chest and I place it into his hand. And I say, there's nothing to be afraid of. The things that have happened cannot be undone. But it is okay to move on. No one will judge you. You will only judge yourself. Through that doorway is freedom. The weight will be taken away from you. You just have to choose to walk up the stairs into the light. I'll walk with you. I'll even carry you if you cannot walk. The child grabs a hold of me and I walk up the stairway with him. This is what the energy looks like to me. A frightened child about 4 years old. But this is not the right age of the child. But this is what it feels like to me. I bring him up to the doorway. And I say, all you have to do is walk through it. And things will be better. An angel appears. It is a woman. And she kneels down to the child and says, come, my dear. Everything will be okay. All is forgiven here. The child walks up to the angel. He looks back at me and smiles just for a second and disappears in through the door with the angel. That is a very simple version, but that's all Spirit showed with me today. There is much more to this, but is there? You can choose to believe that there is much more to do, or as little as possible to do. But they say that that's all that I'm supposed to do right now in this video, because it is meant to be simple, to teach you how to do it yourself, to teach you the simple parts of it, to keep it simple, they said, so that you can learn to do it yourself, that you can help in that way. There's things that you can do that are much more complex, But that is not something that they want to teach you yet. They say to please, at any point in time, if you wish to commit suicide, speak about it. Speak to your friends, your teachers, your parents, your brothers, your sisters. You have to talk about it. It is never the right choice, they say. It is never the right choice. Thank you very much, everyone. And if you wish to do a service with me, you can visit my website at www.amonrasawakening.com, and you can visit my Northern Lights website at josephbradleyauroras.com. And please, everyone, take care of yourself and talk to one another and love one another. Take care. Have a wonderful day.